So as many of you guys know from the hundreds of videos about him on YouTube, Onision is quite the controversial figure, probably the #1 villain on YouTube. I can't see anyone getting nearly as bad as him. And as many of you guys also know, new stuff is happening with Onision almost every single day, to the point where it's kind of hard to keep up with it all. So to remedy that, I figured I'd gather all the information we know so far in regards to Chris Hansen's visit to Onision's house, down to even the most minute detail to keep you guys all up to date with what has been going on. So without further ado, let's begin. Starting with Chris Hansen's announcement that he actually went to go visit Onision. He posted this onto his Twitter.
Been a busy week. I traveled across the country to try to talk to Gregory Jackson, Onision. Knocked on his door. Did he talk to me? No, Greg called 911. Still, I learned an awful lot in my investigation as to what's been going on inside that house. You'll find out more in the days to come. I'm going to give it to you all. Stay tuned. This is something you must see here on social media and my YouTube channel. Have a seat with Chris Hansen. See you soon.
The response to this was mostly positive, I would say 90%, but there was that 10% of people who didn't like that Chris Hansen would record him approaching Onision's house and post it publicly onto YouTube. This is what the YouTuber Drummer828 had to say about the situation.
Chris Hansen grabbed the internet's attention recently when he showed up at Onision's house with a camera crew. This has people debating on whether or not Chris Hansen crossed the line. There's been a long accepted rule that you don't show up at a YouTuber's house. However, that hasn't altogether stopped people from showing up at their favorite YouTuber's house in an attempt to meet them. In fact, Jake Paul caused a bit of controversy 2 years ago after showing up at Post Malone's house unannounced in an attempt to make a clickbait video where he confronted Post Malone for making fun of him. What exactly did Chris Hansen hope to accomplish by showing up at Onision's house? Nothing more than views for his YouTube channel. I do not think it's appropriate to show up on anyone's doorstep for the sake of clicks on a video. And that's all this was, a publicity stunt for Chris Hansen.
A few other people had the same criticism of Chris Hansen, citing the Jake Paul Post Malone incident as a parallel example, but some people have luckily come out on Twitter to counter that argument, saying that it's a common journalistic tactic to do ambush interviews in a similar style to what Chris Hansen did to Onision. Chris Hansen responded directly to this criticism by saying this on his live stream.
I know that there has been some talk and some negativity on social media and here on YouTube about, was it appropriate for us to knock on Onision's door? And I'll tell you this, I may be relatively new to YouTube, but I didn't get into YouTube to practice journalism. I took journalism, my brand of it, to YouTube to expose alleged predators like Greg, James, Jackson, Onision. That's what this is about.
Now, with that criticism out of the way, let's actually check out what happened when Chris Hansen went to Onision's house.
911, what are you reporting?
Hi, there's a person who's been stalking me online, and they just showed up to my house.
Okay, and they're outside now?
Yes, they're knocking on my door.
Okay. And do you know if they have any weapons?
They have a bunch of camera people, like they're YouTube stalkers.
As you watch this, it's important to remember that all the camera crews, sound guys, and attorney Mike Morris stayed on the street when I went up to knock on James Jackson, Gregory Jackson, Onision's door to see if he would talk to me. I've been doing this for some 40 years. I didn't get into YouTube to start journalism, but I did take my brand of journalism to YouTube to expose alleged predators.
Okay, but no weapons seen?
I didn't see any weapons. I just saw like 6 guys in my driveway, and one of them is knocking on my door.
Okay, 1 second here. And the one that's knocking on your door, is he the main one that you said has been stalking you?
Yes, he's a stalker. He's yelling things at me through the door right now.
It's ironic that Onision says I've been stalking him, when in fact he's the one accused of stalking his young female victims on YouTube and on various social media platforms.
His hair is gray. He's still yelling things at me through the door.
Greg, are you there? Kai? This would be a great opportunity for you guys to tell your side of the story here, talk about the controversy, the allegations. The allegations of grooming, the inappropriate behavior allegations.
Can you hear what he's yelling?
Oh, he's saying, I want your side of the story, Greg. My name's not even Greg.
Okay. What is your last name?
My name is James Jackson.
Okay. Last of Jackson, first of James is what I heard. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's saying I just want to talk through the door.
Okay.
Greg Onision James's demeanor on this 911 call is dramatically different from what we've seen recently on his YouTube videos, where he's variously claimed that he's having some sort of a breakdown, upset that people are approaching him on the street, saying that his condition is somehow a result of a dog having sex with him when he was younger.
And do you know what he's talking about, like why he was stalking you or anything like that?
Yeah, there's like it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in the driveway.
Okay.
But I have someone that there's an 18, no, I think they're 19, a 19-year-old who I didn't want to hang out with. I didn't want to be around them. They have BPD, and their mental disorder was like really affecting my life in a negative way. And so I said I didn't want them in my life anymore. And they went to this person and said a bunch of mean things about me. And so now this person's trying to like aggressively pursue me in a really hateful way as a result.
Okay, so you said they're from YouTube though. So is it like a show that they do, or?
It's a live stream. Yeah, I've already talked to a lawyer about slander and stuff. This guy's really, really hateful towards me.
Okay. If anything changes before we arrive, please call us back, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Just a moment. 911, what are you reporting?
Hi, I'm calling back. I reported some people who showed up to my house.
Sir, has something changed on scene there?
Just waiting for the police to show up. They're still in my driveway.
Okay, it is still showing here on my screen, and law enforcement has been advised. If anything does change or escalate, call us back, okay?
Are you guys going to show up?
Sir, it has been sent to the officers. They have to drive to you, okay? If something escalates, call us back, okay?
This is not the first time authorities have gone to Greg and Kai's home in Washington State. Sources tell us that there was an incident within the last year where a child was injured and actually had to be transported to the hospital. We're getting details on that, and we'll have the latest very, very soon in our investigation. It quickly became clear that Greg was not unfamiliar to the local law enforcement authorities here. They were aware of his YouTube antics, the allegations of inappropriate contact with young women. The other thing that stands out to me is that Greg is about as brave in person as you'd expect. The thing about dealing with a predator is you know exactly what a predator is going to do. He had his chance today to talk to me, to explain his side of the story, to defend himself, but he chose not to do it, not even to continue his dramatic rants that he's been conducting on YouTube. Just wouldn't even come to the door. And I could hear him in the background, you know, calling the sheriff's department. Oh, he's out there with camera crews and this, that, and the other thing. So that's going to be a statement for now, I guess. He knows we are out here. He knows we want to talk to him now and down the road. So we'll see what happens. Mike Morris is with us. Mike, anything, you know, surprise you about all this today?
You know, I'm new to this whole thing,
right.
And you pretty much called it. I mean, you know, you were right about the hotel. The intel was right. He was at the hotel. He was posting yesterday from the hotel, making it look like it was from the hotel. I think he was home. He got here, I think, days ago because nobody in the hotel saw him. This morning when we've been waiting, you thought he was in the house. I didn't. He was in the house. So all the hunches, you know, from all your years of doing this have turned out to be true. The fact that there's several people in the house right now.
And it also seems to me that he's living in a constant state of paranoia. You see, you know, maybe up to a half dozen cameras and monitoring devices in the front yard, across the street apparently.
Yeah, there's at least a half a dozen. But the thing that's, you know, really interesting is that it's, you know, we're always thinking, is this a ruse? Is he crazy? Is he telling the truth? It's all bullshit. I mean, it's all made up, because if he wanted to get his side of the story, he'd sit down and talk to you.
He could have done it right here. He could have said, meet us up the street. We would have gotten a hotel.
And he's not on the run. He's home.
No.
We just proved he's home.
That's the other clear thing is that all this stuff about him being penniless and Kai divorcing him and all that. Kai is right in the house with the kids right now, with...
And he's not home because of us chasing him. He didn't, you know, he didn't know. So he's home, and he's not homeless.
It'd be my educated guess that he had no idea we were in town until I knocked on that door.
I agree, 100%.
No clue.
The sheriffs were completely professional. They were fans of yours and your show, and they appreciate you. I like that.
And not surprised that we were out here today.
No, and they're not surprised. They're aware that he lives here on the street. And, you know, maybe I'll get the email back saying that they're ready for a sit-down because, you know, we still are ready.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Holy shit, that call was something else, man. I can't believe how manipulative he was while also being cowardly at the same time. Not only did he overplay and pretty much lie about the situation on multiple instances within the call, but after being asked to call back if anything escalated, he called back almost right away when nothing has changed, just asking the police to come faster. That's how fucking terrified he was of Chris Hansen. I mean, if he didn't want him to come in, I feel like calling the police is a fine alternative to speaking with someone who approaches you in that way. But to say all the stuff he did and then on top of that be so scared, it really makes him look like he's either stupid or guilty. Probably both. Especially considering the next thing Onision does is file a protection order against Chris Hansen. You know that thing that you file if you have like a crazy ex who's like completely obsessed with you and being violent towards you and trying to like stalk you at your house? Yeah, that's the type of restraining order he tried to get against Chris Hansen and another YouTuber called Mr. Repsion, who has only really made videos on Onision. I don't think he has ever been even close to the man in real life. But apparently cyber stalking is now a legitimate reason to file these type of complaints. He says in his complaint against Repsion, "This individual has been cyberstalking me for the last 10 years, and has pushed us to the point where we need to take action to protect ourselves. He has been stalking us for 10 years, and I believe it is likely he would continue after a year." It's only 2 sentences, it's a legal document, and he can't even form the sentence in a way that makes 100% sense. Okay. So, cyberstalking. Repsion has been making negative videos against Onision for the last 10 years. If making videos against someone on the internet counts as cyberstalking, then I'm pretty sure Onision has to file a lot more complaints because there's a lot more people than just Repsion who has made videos on you, dude. Now, as silly as this complaint is, apparently it's relatively serious because Mr. Repsion responded to all of this by saying, "This is really not how I wanted to start 2020. But here we go. After the 24th, I'll be creating a GoFundMe for legal fees." He also made a YouTube comment under a video talking about the protection order that says, "I've never showed up to his house. I've never met him in person. I've never followed him. I've never recorded him in public stalking him. Like, honestly, how can you file a protection order against someone for harassment when everything they've covered is public information?" So yeah, completely ridiculous, but apparently it is serious enough to actually need a GoFundMe. Once Repsion launches one, I'll be sure to let you guys know. As for the complaint filed against Chris Hansen, it's a little more in depth. For some reason, he says that his children were involved with this one, which kinda makes no sense. Sure, Chris Hansen talks about them a bit on his podcasts, but definitely not in a negative way or to the extent that he talks about Onision himself. Also, I love how primitive sounding the complaint is. "Stalker showed up at house. Police sent them away. Making numerous hate/harassment videos since August/September 2019. Now, I don't know if that's the way you're supposed to type it, but either way, I thought it was kind of funny. Next, we get a recollection from Onision himself about how the encounter with Chris Hansen went down in his eyes. He says, "Chris Hansen showed up at my house and banged on my door while shouting through the door at my spouse and my child. The other child was at school. He brought 6 men with him, who all had their own cameras pointed at my/my family's home. Chris Hansen has been making hateful videos about myself/my spouse since August/September of 20. Chris Hansen has been requested to stop stalking us. He has persisted. He flew across the country from New York to bang on our door/yell at us with 6 additional men. We fear for our safety. Chris Hansen has been stalking us for nearly half a year already. We would like to have peace for as long as possible." Just the way this was written is just riddled with paranoia. He mentions Chris Hansen stalking them about 3 to 4 times, hammering in the point that he's been stalking them, even when they asked him to stop, and saying stuff like he flew all the way across the country just to bang on our door with 6 additional men, like multiple times mentioning the additional men as if that makes a difference when they're just holding cameras from the street. Also, doesn't the fact that he flew from New York just to bang on your door kind of indicate that he's not going to be doing it repeatedly because he lives halfway across the country? You think Chris Hansen's going to abandon his family just to stake out in Washington to continually bang on your door, Onision? Like, what the fuck is even the point of this request if Chris Hansen is probably never going to go near your house again? Just complete insanity on his part. This is what Chris Hansen had to say in response to all of it.
You may have heard that Onision, a.k.a. Gregory Jackson, a.k.a. James Jackson, put together a little legal complaint on his own, didn't use any lawyers, and marched it off to the local courthouse near his home in Washington State. He filed it. He apparently claims that another YouTube streamer, Repsion, and I have been mean to him. He wants a personal protection order. Good luck with that. My lawyers, including Mike Morse, have looked at it and they're unconcerned. I find it ironic, and you probably know this already if you watch my show on YouTube, Have a Seat with Chris Hansen, that I've interviewed a dozen young women who claim Onision has sexually harassed them, assaulted them in some cases, and even bullied them online and in person, stalked them. There's more to come on that and some other very disturbing things that I found out about what goes on inside his home in Washington State. I'll be reporting on that very soon on Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. If you want to take a look at what this guy is partially about, listen to the 911 tape from when I knocked on his door a few days ago. That's also on my YouTube channel, Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. Stay tuned, much more to come.
Now, lucky for me, someone named Matthew Wilson tweeted in response to Chris Hansen that he actually knows of a Discord call that was recorded from Onision right after his encounter with Chris Hansen. So after seeing this tweet from him, I actually went to go search for that audio, and I ended up finding it, and it's pretty interesting. Here's what was said in the call.
Have you guys noticed that you're literally not allowed to be the bigger person?
Yeah.
You're literally not allowed to. If you're the bigger person and you don't engage, they just say you're guilty. They just say you're guilty.
Well, either way, you're guilty apparently.
Yeah, and if you
go on, you're guilty. You don't go on, you're still guilty.
Oh, that's never gonna happen. Here's the thing: I'm not gonna go on someone's show who literally is going to make a buck so he can pay off the $60,000 American Express bill. You guys noticed they didn't post the footage of what he said, what he was yelling into my house.
What did he yell? What did he yell?
Yeah, he yelled maybe 15 different things.
What did he say?
What kind of things?
Now's the time to talk. If you want to meet somewhere else, you should let me know. I know you're in there, Kai. What are these sexual assault claims against this lawyer, dude?
Oh, I actually am not really.
Like this guy, actually, there were like things, even with Vincent, the guy that's working with Chris Hansen. There's like all sorts of allegations on him too. And like,
why does everyone who works with the guy have some kind of sex thing going on?
Says a lot about him.
Well, apparently, if you don't answer your door for a creep, that says a lot about you.
Why'd you let him? You don't want to answer the fucking door.
Wow, he's very familiar with the police. And then cut to his fucking mugshot. Okay, that's ridiculous. Yeah. You know why I have a lot of history with the police, because I'm constantly calling them on people.
I don't doubt it.
That's terrible.
Yeah, one of the people on his show, I called the cops on twice.
Also, he was like, he must be pretty paranoid.
And the second time, the cops literally hauled them away.
Oh.
And took him to a literal mental asylum or whatever.
You're paranoid.
That's a guest. That's a literal guest of the Hansen thing. Is a person who got hauled away to the mental asylum because I called the cops on them. So okay.
That person's story seems very
It doesn't. You're talking about. You're talking about pathological lying on a constant basis, being constantly called out for and proven in the past, and it's being ignored now. And now everything they say is credible. And it's like, guys, look at the police reports, okay? Look at the police reports. Nobody seems to live in reality.
Look at that.
Do you guys know what it's like to be so famous that you have to wear sunglasses wherever you go?
No. Sorry, sir.
Alright,
I literally went somewhere. I didn't wear my disguise, and I get spotted again, and I'm like, fuck, I thought I could take it off, and I kind of just goes like, and they're like, tee, that's Onision, like audibly, very loudly saying it. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. And I'm so like bad famous too, not good famous. So a sex double.
Infamous.
Yeah, like, oh my fucking god, is he a Dairy Queen? You know, that kind of famous.
Oh my gosh, I remember that. That was...
It's fucking disgusting, bro.
Yeah, because your kids were in that. Why would you film someone that they're with their children? That's just weird.
I don't have children, shut up.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, he doesn't have a spouse.
Bonds don't exist.
I was renting it to look good for the photo shoot.
Okay.
Rinsing.
I was like, look at me, you can relate to me now, I'm a person.
You were renting Kai?
You know, it'd be a really fucked up video for me to make is me coming out as a trans woman.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. That would be gross. You would trigger so many people.
I'd just be the Trisha Paytas version of it.
So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. The amount of truth twisting and blame shifting he does in that call is absolutely insane. It makes me think he's actually mentally ill to a certain degree, which would make me feel bad for him, but at the same time, he is a horrible person, so... Either way, that's about it on Onision so far. Stuff is developing very quickly, so I'll probably have another video on Onision very soon. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. And be sure to follow me on Twitter if you want to see me talk about the stuff as it happens. Thank you so much to my channel members for supporting the channel, and with all that being said, I will see you in the next video.